Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Callie. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder. If you're not sure how to set up your sound, we have something in the chat window. So just make sure that you've activated your audio pin so that you can hear all of our wonderful speakers today. Luckily, I'm not going to be one of them, so you're not going to have to watch me butcher my words. And we will be sending a copy of this recording. So if you or anyone else on your team isn't able to attend live or stay for the full session, no worries, we're going to be sending this out to you. If you have any other questions, feel free to send us an email at info@Brandwise. And if you're having any trouble, we have a few people here in the background that can help answer questions or get you activated if you're having some trouble with the audio pin. But then again, you won't be able to hear me either. So without further ado, I'm going to let Ari do some quick introductions while we wait for more of you guys to show up.
Hello, everyone. Really excited to be here today. What's such a big deal about today, I mean, it's always a big deal, but we've gotten 5 of your really talented colleagues to kind of share the insides of what they're doing, right? So this is, something that maybe years ago might have been impossible. Now is possible to get some insights onto what suppliers and agencies and salespeople are doing to get new business. Right? We've all been hit hard in a lot of different ways. The shows have now happened or not happened for many of you in whatever way they did. But the idea here is to see what kind of tips and ideas and strategies you can learn, we can talk about to help your business. So very quickly introducing everyone, we have Karen Moore from Compendium, who is the sales director and sales czar. We have the sales czarina from Portico, who is Randa Chrysler as vice president. We have Maureen Carpenter, vice president and director of sales from Nora Fleming. Tony Davis, co-founder, co-author, co-creator, co-CEO, and the co-co of Enchanted Moments. And we have Grady Rosenkampf, who is from a long line of sales professionals in our industry, and who they sent out to a difficult territory, and so he's a salesperson. He's what we're all built on here. So want to get things started. We're gonna throw our first question to Randa. Randa insisted on going first. No, Randa insisted on going first, but I wanted to ask Randa. Randa runs a fantastic agency, Portico, out of Dallas, and I wanted to ask Randa, with so many different challenges coming and working with 65 different lines and thousands of retailers and dozens of salespeople, Randa, what have you done? How have you responded in order to find new business, which is that lifeblood of the industry? What is it that you and Portico have done?
Exactly. Whenever you first approached me about having this call and we talked about new customers, and I was like, we haven't really focused on new customers during this time. We have the best customers in the business, we strongly feel, and it was our idea that we needed to take care and nurture these customers that we already had from the very beginning. Send them a handwritten card, call them and ask them what we could do to help. I mean, that was from March 17th on. But as we started trying to find our new normal in April, early May, normally we would be getting thousands of new products, new catalogs, new items, getting ready for our June show, and wasn't happening. And we didn't know when it was going to happen again. And so as the idea is normally, it was just a strategy to overcome. And we had a major account that told us they were going to pass on a line for the season because they had done it in their mind and there wasn't anything new. And we're like, oh my God, how are we going to handle this? And so we came up with a strategy that we called New to You. And it's so simplistic, but it has just been so great. So we went back to that customer and we're like, okay, you're passing on a line and you've bought 6 SKUs from this line, 6. And she's thinking she's already done it. So we said, here's what you haven't done that's in their top sellers. Here's what you haven't bought that's been introduced the last 2 seasons. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll take a look at it. And we ended up making a sale out of it. And it made us realize that so many customers buy something a few times and then they think, oh, I've already done that, I'm going to move on. And in these times, with no idea if we were going to have new product or not, we had to overcome that objection, and we launched this program with our reps. We talked about it a ton. It worked really, really well, so well, in fact, that during our show a few weeks ago in Dallas, one of our customers, just a one store specialty retailer, said the words back to me. Oh, I'm here to meet with so-and-so to look at new to you. And that's how you know that you have, done something that's really working, and my reps have really embraced it. And we've done it across all of our lines with all of our customers, and it's been fantastic.
When you say that, so I mean, in the simplistic sense that in a simple sense, it makes sense. Something that isn't for them. How did you, was it having the sales reps look at an existing customer and comb through their lines? Did you do it with technology? How did you actually get the found set of what you're going to talk to a customer about?
Yeah, so they've actually, some of them have integrated Brandwise into it, where you can take a bestseller list and compare it to what a customer's bought. Most reps know that in their head. They can see it in the store. And I think a lot of other times when that customer had said, I'm going to pass on this line in any time but April of 2020, we would have been like, okay, on to the next. But we couldn't do that. We had to make it work. And so it made us just really dig in and look. And I mean, we've done this from smallest to largest customer. What have they bought? When was the last time they bought it? How many times did they reorder it? I mean, we've just studied, and we've really asked our vendors to keep on top of bestsellers with us, for them and for us. And it's just, it's just become, now it's a habit. I believe my reps are just, before they call a customer, they already have this plan in place. And luckily, happily, the majority of our vendors did end up coming out with new product and did, do new essentials or new everyday or new holiday. And that helped greatly at our show. But, we had to get through May, June, July, August, and it's been hugely successful. Did
you have a good show?
Yeah, sorry, we had a good show.
Good job, Randa.
We had a great show, and I can actually tell you, if you take June, July, and August, which is what we challenged our reps with, for June, July, and August, we were up 10% over 2019. So we had a great show.
Excellent. The work paid off. I want to ask you one follow-up question, something that we talked about. It was about the shifting, and this kind of gets not really into what Tony's going to talk about, but a bit, because we're not talking about new stores, but we're talking about new opportunities. There were two big impacts of things that have happened and are going to happen in your territory that really changed the way or how you're going to see the traffic of sales. It was about the chains and about the holiday events. Where specifically, can you just drill into that for a moment?
Well, what we had talked about is, everyone is worried about customers going online, customers doing this and customers doing that. Well, we always try to find an opportunity. So we're trying to put together with our reps, not trying, we've pretty much done it, a strategic plan, because everyone has those big retail shows in your territory. For us, the biggest one is Nutcracker in Houston. There's their Mistletoe Magic or Chi Omega Christmas or whatever. Those aren't happening. So those are gone. If you sell to those people, that's a bad thing. If you don't sell to those, our retailers are going to have to make up that bandwidth. And then also the other huge thing that's happened in our territory specifically, Stage Stores is closing all their stores. That's Palais Royale and Beals and all the Stage Stores and the Gordmans. But it goes on and on. JCPenney's, Tuesday Morning, Neiman Marcus, Steinmart. We've all had them in our territory. And this is like such a rare opportunity that specialty retail can step into these voids and look at it as a positive and we have this new loyalty to shop local that's really resounding out in the world. And so we're trying to tell our reps and to tell their customers, how are you going to take advantage of the Beals and the Steinmart in your town going out of business? And we're sad that that's happening, but we can't change that, but we can change the outcome of what happens
Sure.
to fill the void.
And that's convincing the retailers that they need to try the new line, that they need to add these things because of that. So that's great. Randa, thanks. I'm sure we'll come back to you with other questions, but I want to pivot to a supplier. So in the conversations, as I was trying to put together the pieces of how this works, it all kind of came together quite elegantly. Karen, you have a well-established line with Compendium, very well respected. And in a moment in time when what people's needs are is changing in terms of what they're actually going to be using, and those going to a store and saying, no, I'm not selling you a mask, right? I'm not selling you something that necessarily you need, but maybe that your customers want. Where did you put your focus in terms of new business?
Good question. Well, we knew that buyers were going to have a lot of hurdles to jump over in terms of finding new accounts, seeing new releases, especially with shows being really up in the air. And so what we wanted to do was provide some turnkey sales materials just to make it easier on the reps. I mean, everyone's world was completely upside down and it was very distracting. So we wanted to make it simple for them to talk about our product in a really compelling way. And the way that we decided to do that was through video. And Callie, if it's okay, can I show my screen and share it?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So what we had done in the past is created sales rep training through video, but we had never made this available to buyers. And so this season we released a series of different videos. Some were focused on bestsellers, others were more like theme-based, like kids and anxiety or mindfulness and self-care. And this was a tool that sales reps could either email to a brand new prospect or to one of their very best customers. And there was really 3 reasons why we did this. It was an easy way to share product during a time when it was hard to get together face-to-face to look at a sample. And it was a great training tool. It showed the reps and the buyers how to think about our product and how it might fit into their assortment. And then it was just more engaging. So a rep could walk into a store if they had that opportunity, pull out their iPad and walk them through these videos. And knowing that attention spans were really short, we kept them nice and short and sweet. They were like 30 seconds to about a minute. And I have a little success story to share about how this was put into practice. One of our reps was targeting a brand new online retailer that catered to professional women, and they were assembling gift boxes. And so they found some items by just looking at our traditional catalog, but they wanted more information. So our team pulled together some of these videos that spoke to the list that they'd assembled, and then they were able to make their final selection. So it was just really seamless. We didn't have to send them any samples, but they got a great sense of our product. Another example I want to share is the theme-based videos and sales sheets that we created. Again, we wanted a turnkey tool for reps to reach out to customers that hadn't ordered in a while or to brand new prospects. So we put a little contest in place because sales reps are competitive, right, Grady? And we wanted to make it fun for them. One of our highly motivated reps reached out to over 80 different prospects, sending them an email that was really tailored for their store based on the theme-based assortment that was best for them. Another program, and this is actually from Portico, that we sent out was some different products that were free to our sales reps that they could use as a tool in the field. So they could choose from, I think it was like 12 different products, pick the ones that they wanted, and then we sent them along with their regular samples that we would normally send every season. And in this example, Heather from Portico wrote a note on the inside of every book, and it was a way for her to share gratitude with her customers. But then some of our reps decided to use them as a prospecting tool. Because remember, some buyers didn't feel comfortable even handling a sample that another buyer had touched. And so this was a gift that was unique to them. And then my last example, actually one more thing about the theme-based videos. This is our e-catalog. And we wanted to incorporate the videos right into the catalog. So in our table of contents, you can just click on the watch video link, and then you could find a little more information about the thank you category or mindfulness and self-care. And so again, that was an easy way for the reps to share this link, get that information out in front of customers. And then my last example is Instagram. we created an Instagram account a little while ago. It's called Just for Reps, and it's not buyer facing, it's not public facing, it's literally a platform just for our sales reps. And it's a place where we could provide promotions, we can see our products in retail, and talk about different specials that we're offering. And it's also a great way to generate ideas for new sales verticals. So I'll give you one example. This is a wax bar, like for waxing your eyebrows, which is not a typical customer of Compendium, but they were able to incorporate our books into their color story. And you know, I don't know that a rep would have thought of that without seeing this in color on our Instagram page.
So first of all, when I saw the materials that Karen had put together, I knew I wanted to share them, and thank you for sharing because they're really beautifully done. One of the things, Karen, that we talked about was, you know, there's always that wish list that everybody wishes they could get to. You know, if we ever have time, we want to do X, and it appears that you have done it, not because you had time, but out of necessity. How has all of this, you know, tomorrow, let's say they find a vaccine, everything opens, everybody goes back to work. How has this changed the way you do business?
Well, we really feel like video is the way of the future. I mean, let's face it, it's a lot more interesting to look at a video than it is to read a Word doc. And we want to be able to find attention-grabbing ways to get our products in front of buyers and to make it much easier for the sales rep. Like, we know they have so many different lines that they need to memorize and learn and understand. So we want to keep that in front of them so they can use these tools in the way that they see fit. It's just a great way to prospect and introduce someone to a line.
So this is now part of your standard procedure.
Yeah, it's something we're going to keep doing. And I guess the one piece of advice that I would pass along is not to try to overthink it and make it too high production wise. We've done that before where we hired a videographer, and it's expensive and it's really time consuming, but we were able to create over 30 videos this season just using an iPhone. And I happen to have a great person, Carly, on my team that is really a whiz with pulling these together, but it didn't require any cost at all. And the value to our reps and our buyers was really high.
Well, I know if I was a rep, I would now want to carry Compendium. Grady, I saw your eyes kind of you're drooling a little bit there. You're just, you know, play cool. That's excellent. Callie, do we want to pop in any questions, or do you want to save them for the end?
We do have one that came through for Branda.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Colson wanted to find out if you offered any additional incentive to the retailers to try new to you.
We did not. It was just, I think, the rep presenting it to them, and that this was already a well-known bestseller. And, you know, I think part of it too was, and our reps keep telling me, this one actually told me this morning, is just the rep showing up. That just made a difference. I mean, you know, so many people, I think, just like went into their shell, went into their comfort place. And from, again, the very beginning, we told our reps, this isn't a vacation. This isn't to be scared. You've got to reach out. And just by our reps showing up and saying, I've done the research and here's the best items that you're missing out on, it just made a difference to the retailer. And they, for the most part, of course, they didn't all do it, but they were very attracted to the concept of, I can get something new that's already a proven bestseller my customers haven't seen. And so it just was successful because you're basically selling them best-selling product.
They just haven't tried. Excellent. Okay, so now we're gonna. Oh, sorry, Callie, go ahead.
Well, for Karen, what flipbook tool did you use when inserting the video into your digital catalogs?
Well, Vimeo is the platform, and then the e-catalog company was we were able to just lay that right in. And I could probably get back to you more specifically because that wasn't my area, but it wasn't that hard to do, and it didn't cost us extra.
Perfect. And then one more follow-up question from Michelle. What percentage of your reps participate in your Just for Rep Instagram page?
I would say not as many as we would like, but we haven't heavily promoted it, probably 30%.
And they have 4,000 reps, so that's, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna pivot to our. We have well, most of us are in gift. Tony Davis is joining us from the land of fun and games, the toy industry, which I know sometimes is not fun and games, Tony. So Tony's agency is certainly one of the largest in the country. A couple of hundred lines, and I'm not sure how many salespeople you have, but I know that it's many dozens. So you're responsible, Tony, for a big swath of business for a lot of really important suppliers. So when COVID came to town, someone picked up the phone, or many of them did, and said, "Tony, you're holding our business. What are you going to do for us?" And you, of course, said, "No problem. I've got this covered." So
I retired first off.
I'm done. Call my partner. How did Enchanted Moments? Where'd you find the business?
Yeah, so like Rhonda said, we've got a great staff, a great team, both on the road and in the office, and so we wanted to make sure we took care of our existing customers first. As you said, Enchanted is a large agency, and we cover a large swath, and have done it for many decades. My job, my goal, I guess, was to take a step back and say, okay, this is what we're dealing with. We really don't know how long it's going to last, but use a buzzword, where can we pivot? Where can we look for some new business? We're going to have a team that's going to take care of our existing business, but we all knew that stores, whether it's a smaller toy store, good sized toy store, a mid-tier account, one of our national accounts, they were going to close for a short period of time. And we were wanting to be there to help them, obviously, as they come back. But my job was what am I going to do? Where can we go? And so the first thing we kind of realized really was who's open. And that was the grocery, that was the convenience store, that was the pharmacy, to some extent hardware. And so we looked and we called our team in and we said, okay, let's pull up every relationship you've had in this channel. As somebody said a minute ago, this isn't a vacation time, so let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. And our team was good about reaching out. A couple of folks on the team, myself, really took it on as a project. And you know what? We found that after the first 30 or 45 days of everybody being shocked and really just making sure they had their groceries in stock and their paper goods, that all of a sudden they took a deep breath and said, you know what? There's an opportunity here. And all of a sudden those phone calls and emails got returned, and we were persistent, and the opportunities have been very unique and actually fun. That is what the toy and gift industry is, for the most part, is fun. But we found those from the smaller guys up to the really large chains and some distributors. And so that was our focus and pivot, or at least it was mine from our company standpoint. And I think some of our vendors, who didn't really know or understand that category, or even, were worried about them staying in business, this gave them an outlet. And we've got some really exciting new business out of there that really is not going to affect any of our existing customers. And personally, it's been rewarding for somebody that travels overseas a lot. One of the very first folks that got back to me was trying to source a product, and I was like, wait a second, I know exactly where we can go. And all of a sudden now we've got this whole line going into their chain, and it's something we're going to be able to take out into the toy and gift market as well. So it's been challenging, it's been hard work, but it's been rewarding.
So a couple of questions. So let's say I guess there's no such thing as a non-traditional retailer, but there's a traditional retailer. Did you find that it was that they were expanding the space, that they were finding new space, that it was replacing kind of product that wasn't necessarily moving a lot, but they didn't care because it wasn't an important piece for them? What did you find?
For the most case, they found space. You typically walk into one of these types, let's just take a grocery store. They've got a very small section, some Matchbox, Hot Wheels, some plastic little toys, some cards. They weren't just shoving stuff back in an aisle somewhere. They were finding it catty corner displayed at an end cap or a register. They were taking that front spot, as we talked about the other day, when you walk into a store that's very seasonal, and all of a sudden they were they were popping games or puzzles or whatever it may be onto that. So you see it when you first walk in the store. And for the most part, it was new space, and we certainly didn't feel like there were, taking away from anything at this point. Unfortunately, they had a lot of empty space at times because of other products being out of stock. But the other unique thing, which we talked about the other day, which for any of you that's out there calling on this type of customer, we found that the price points went up. Usually this has been a very inexpensive novelty type of a product they were looking for. All of a sudden, we saw 2, 3, 4 times the price increase, especially in the convenience store channel. That shut up toy or gift that's $2, $3, all of a sudden was hitting almost to the $10 price point at retail. So that opened a lot of doors for us to show these folks some different things.
Yeah, that's actually the one part where I want to. I think that trend is something that would yell, right? We've all seen the typical toys or games that you would find in a convenience store would be those low price points, and they if they can get their gas at the pump with the card, they don't have to go in. But if they want a lottery ticket, they got to go inside. And so when they're there, they might drop $10 on a quick win. But now they can drop $10 on a game or toy. I think that in terms of understanding new business, I think for anyone who's on this can certainly see that whatever your category is, what that's done is that's where the foot traffic is. Someone is still walking into that convenience store, but they're not necessarily somewhere else. And the opportunity buy, what's a quick impulse buy? Well, that can change dramatically. I just bought a $600 vacuum cleaner. Why? Because I'm staring at my house for the last 6 months, and I wanted the fancy cordless one. Very good, by the way. But I think that's really sorry. And in terms of those channels, are your regular salespeople pivoting to work with those, or is it separate staff?
So no, fortunately we had some folks that were already in that channel. It was it just expanded now. And we did talk to one other folk that was kind of more like an introduction and somebody that I've known in the industry a long time. We did not bring anybody on the team specifically to call on that channel. We did take advantage of, we'll just call it the downtime in certain areas to have those folks work on finding the local. I mean, it's amazing, especially in New England, how many 5 and 8 and 10 and 12 store little chains there are that are in the grocery convenient channel. It's amazing. And in theory, I probably could hire another 40 reps just to call on that channel. But it was fun, and in a challenging time, we felt like we were helping, and I think it helped those stores too. We even had a larger, very large, more national chain, at least I should say semi-national East Coast, who we're now working on a program to make sure that their games and puzzles and about 2 dozen items they're bringing in is actually going to be up on Instacart for the customers to be able to, when they're ordering their groceries, let's make sure that board game's up on there or whatever it may be. And pretty interesting.
Family night. Excellent. Thank you, Tony. So now from there, we're gonna reach out to Maureen. So hi, Maureen. How are you?
Hello.
For anyone who doesn't know Nora Fleming, it's a great brand. It's a very strong brand in its category, which is basically a very small category, but very strong. Maureen's been with them for since the beginning. When I asked Maureen, I said, "How long have you been with Nora Fleming?" She said, "Well, I unloaded the first container, and that was my job to unload the container." And now she's running a very successful business with salespeople and retailers across the country. So, Maureen, my question for you, starts with a kind of a basic one. You have a real strong brand. Karen has a really strong brand. What is it? What's the process with how you find new accounts? What does it take to be a Nora Fleming retailer, and how do you find me if I'm a good candidate for that?
So we have a pretty rigorous process to become an account with us because we territory protect. When I started with Nora Fleming, we had 60 accounts, and we have 1,600 now, and we've done a lot of things wrong along the way, and we've done some things right. And So when we first started selling to people and they said, you know, well, I'll try this line, but you have to promise not to sell it to so-and-so down the street, or you have to promise not to sell to this person, you know, in the next town over. Or so over time, we developed a 5-mile territory in which we kind of offered zip code protection or territory protection for the stores that were doing well. You know, that there is a minimum now, but we found that by offering people that kind of exclusivity, that we got a better customer who was willing to invest more into our brand because they knew that they would be the only people that would carry it. We avoided saturation in a lot of areas, and our, you know, it keeps our retailers happy and it keeps their customers happy as well. The application process, you know, there's several ways to apply to be a retailer. We do have an application on our website, but that, you know, most people don't go to your website and try to look at the bottom to find out how they can become a wholesaler. We would get, you know, several calls inquiring, and a lot of people would say, even now we get people who say, I know there's someone down the street from me who carries the line. Can you keep my information to make sure that if they close or they stop carrying it, that we get the next, you know, the next call, because we really want to carry your line. So that's, you know, that feels great for a lot of us and all of that. But the application process really is thorough, and we want to know, you know, we developed a strategy kind of as a team a couple of years ago. You know, we to identify like what our stores had in common that did really well, and you know, what were the top 5 lines that they carry, and what type of store were they. And you know, over time, and especially now, that type of store has changed drastically. We used to only sell to boutiques and gift stores, and then we had like a really good grocery store chain call and say, we'd like to carry your line. And we were like, I don't know about grocery. Did phenomenal, you know. And then as, you know, especially in the Midwest, as hardware stores were starting to bring in a gift area into their stores, and we started to sell to, we have a building supply company in Iowa that does fantastic. We have great hardware stores, kitchen stores, and we kind of expanded as well and learned a lot about who our customers were and where they would buy from. So right now, we have kind of, at one point, we kind of felt stagnant. We had kind of hit 1,200 customers and stayed there for a long time and kept thinking, like, what can we do to get more customers? How can we do this? So we kind of reverse engineered the process because we territory protect. As we were bringing on sales agencies, which we only did about 4 years ago, how could we help our salespeople identify where we can be? And so we started looking at demographics, population of areas, and really kind of put together a list for the reps. And we didn't say like, here, we want to be a store in all of these places. We said, we think we might be able to be a store in these places. And for a lot of the reps, that was a nice overlay. They overlaid the open areas that we identified and then said, wow, I've already got 6 stores in these areas. I'm going to approach them. And for some people, it was an eye opener to say, oh yeah, you know what? There is a great little store in that town. I haven't thought about them for this line. So we ended up in between 2018, really the end of 2017 and all of 2018, increasing our customer base by 25%. And we did it by sending a letter to our sales reps. You know, we identified the criteria that we wanted, that we felt was probably the best formula to see where we could be. And we put it in a spreadsheet and we sent it to each individual rep and said, this is what we've identified for you. We're not going to go find the stores. We're going to ask you to do that. But here's where we think we can be. And we know we can't be in all of them, but could you leave me a note on, you know, yeah, there's no one in this town, or there's no economic growth center in this town, but I found one here. And then they would send us.
So you identified where you thought if there was a store there that you thought it would work for you.
Correct. And they could, and when we started with, you know, you want to look for the boutique, and if there's not a boutique, then maybe you want to look for the kitchen store. And if the kitchen store isn't around, the hardware store or the florist, like, we gave them parameters and said, you know, we do well in all of these places. So if they don't have that gift boutique, that's okay, because the hardware store gift shop might be the right place in this town for us. And we also gave them, we did you know, this was probably one of the best things that we did was we said to the reps, we're not going to send samples to all these people. We'd like you to drop them off. If you have a store that you really feel is a great fit for us, that's approved, I'm going to send all my reps, you know, 12 little sample kits that they can drop off with a catalog and a handwritten note and say, here, you know, I think you'd be a great fit. We'd like you to have this, try it out, see what the line is about, and get back to me. And we had a huge success with that. I would say 40 to 50% of the people that got a sample opened an account. So that was a really important process for us, but more important that the rep actually walked in and handed it to somebody. It didn't get lost in someone's back room. It didn't, you know, that they loved having that ability.
So in the conversation when we talked about this, you'd mentioned that there was that looking at the demographic detail, the information, median income, population density, you know, your secret sauce, which worked for you, that there was an area where you were finding an anomaly where it didn't match up, where you had a town with hardly any people in it, with not a high median income, but those towns kept doing well. What was that?
So in two cases, for like Virginia and Delaware, they have big beach towns. So the population of the town might be 2,000, but from Memorial Day to Labor Day, it's 60,000. And so we knew from Memorial to Labor Day, if we were in the right place on the beach, we were going to do well. We came out with melamine. We had, you know, so we were kind of doing it on both ends. But we had stores that were doing $40,000, $50,000 a year with us just between Memorial Day and Labor Day in those beach towns.
So you
and
added
we
those
also found
towns to your list.
So those were added to our list. And then we did follow a map with water to see where people, you know, the coastal areas. And in Florida, we knew that in a lot of the towns in Florida that had the snowbirds, and easy for me, my parents are snowbirds too, that from January to May, we would crush it in some towns. And then we'd say, God, we didn't get an order from them. They didn't order any fourth quarter stuff. Well, it's because they didn't have people there. They didn't have people there again until January. So we found that those were really, that was just great knowledge to have, and that we wouldn't close an account for not ordering the fourth quarter product when they didn't have the people there to support, you know, all of that. So, yep.
Right. So that's Maureen. Thank you. That's it's what I really liked about that was the kind of systematic approach. Right. Let's eliminate the possibility that there you know it is or isn't a store in a particular town. And
I can show, like, I did not show the spreadsheet. I can show a quick spreadsheet of kind of what we sent to rep.
Okay.
So I don't know if
anybody want to see it?
I just got it.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. All right, let's see it, Maureen.
Okay, hold on one second.
You are showing us your notes.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
There we are.
So this is just kind of a quick little spreadsheet that we put together for our rep. We identified the stores that we were already in. We knew by population.
Louisiana.
This is Louisiana. So, and then we identified, you know, if it was a town of 100,000 people or 200,000 people, then we could probably have 2 stores in that town. It would be big enough in size and population to support 2 stores. And then kind of showed them, this is where we're at. This is where we think we can be. Can you check these places out? And we got some great feedback. So we also sent this with a letter and really explained our line. And, you know, if they need help, let us know. We know our attrition rate is decent. We know that if we have a store here and it closes, we still have a customer base there. So that'd be the first place you look to open a new account.
Where it says notes, what is that? Who uses this document?
The rep.
Okay.
So they would fill that out and then send it back to us. And they would put in where some of the empty spaces were where we didn't have an account. They would maybe put 3 or 4 stores that might be a possibility for us to look at, and then go back to them and say, okay, well, we're going to rank these. And in California, we really did. We ranked 1, 2, 3 for this town, and said, if you can't get into this first store, then try the second one. And if not that one, try the third.
Very cool. Okay, cool. Thank you, Maureen. I think we have a nice mix of new accounts, how to find them. And now we come to the man who we're all depending on.
Can you hear me well?
It all comes down to you, Grady. Everything we're all doing, all of our efforts, all of our work, we put it in your hands. So I'll tell everyone that when I talked to Grady, it was a great conversation. It's great to talk with an excited 27-year-old in our industry who, when I asked certain questions, I got exclamations and joy and excitement, and really was great to hear. So Grady, if you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are physically, and then I have the two questions are: how'd you build your territory before COVID, and then after? So Grady, take it away.
So Grady Rosenkamp, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I work the West Tennessee and Southwest Kentucky territory for the Southern Link. How I got out here, oh man. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and watched my dad work that territory. So I was exposed to the industry at a young age, and ever since I was old enough, all the way through college, on summer breaks and winter breaks, I was always down in Atlanta working the trade shows and everything. And, similar to Randa, your story, I read your little blurb about working your first trade show at age 11. Similar story there. I was always fascinated with the energy and the excitement and the craziness that the Mark provided, and thought one day I might want to do that. And, fast forward to college, took it more seriously, decided that's what I wanted to do. Moved to Atlanta for a couple summers to focus on that and really learn more about the industry and what goes on outside, the other 50 weeks of the year outside of the trade shows and everything. After I graduated, I moved to Atlanta. The deal, I was kind of offered a suspended territory manager position. Moved down here, maybe 6 to 12 months. We'll work you in somewhere. Maybe, we'll send you to new territory. But, 4 short weeks later, during the middle of the July market, our West Tennessee rep quit, and they kind of offered me the position. And at the time, me being kind of dumb, I'm thinking, all right, Memphis blues, barbecue and everything. I got a buddy who lives out there. That'll be great. So I took it, and then, looking over the account list, I'm like, oh man, this is our worst territory. But, in that first full year, I was able to double that territory, which I'm proud of. And, that's kind of how I got here, and that's where I'm at now, still rocking and rolling, and, still growing and everything. So
how'd you double the territory, Grady?
So I guess, I know you want me to talk about growth and everything. And, I guess to answer that, starting at a real broad, answer to that at first was just starting with my mindset on kind of being a little bit naive and not even living out here, not having any predetermined notions on what my customers buy and whatnot, kind of helped me. It just kind of, like I said, that word naive I'm going to use a lot. And that just, helped me go out and get it and buy into everything I'm being told. And, how I use that mindset, the biggest thing for me in my growth was to channel that into cross-selling. And in my first year as a territory manager, the Link ran a cross-selling rep incentive program to where, you sell in 5 lines or not sell in, you just write 5 lines with a customer this week, you get a point, and those points are tallied up over the span of however many months. And, me being poor, me being hungry, I'm like, I want a bonus, and I'm focusing on that. And, I won out of like 70 reps in a new territory. I won that. And it's no coincidence that during that kind of campaign and during my first year, I experienced all that growth. A lot of it had to do with the cross-selling and getting multiple lines, and within lines, multiple categories in those stores. And like I said, I didn't even really know why I was doing it other than to earn a bonus at first. But that has really, really helped me out a lot. That's how I got going. And then now, same thing. I mean, I think it's actually more important now to focus on that than it was 12 months ago, which is why, bravo, Randa, to your new to you campaign. It's kind of on the same, say wavelength there, introducing new product. Because while there's, a bunch of manufacturers, a bunch of different vendors that can't produce product, ship product, bring new product in, and a bunch of reps that are still a little timid and don't get out there, now's the time to capitalize on that and introduce the new stuff. And it's actually a time for growth. It's not time to sit back and, I'm kind of nervous to sell them this new thing because I don't know if it works. Sales are slow for them and I want to sell them in what works for them. No, you got to sell them, take advantage of this time. And that's what I'm trying to do. And, I say growth, and that I'm not crazy. You may not be growing dollar-wise right now, but grow your product offering, within that store. And like I said, this is coming from a guy who represents 30 different lines. So I'm talking about throwing different lines in there that they haven't done before, but, just different categories within those lines as well. And I think that's going to be big fast forward 6, 12 months from now when everyone else is getting back out there. Some of those folks that couldn't ship or that sat around, it's like, oh crap, everyone, I got left in the dust, you know what I mean? So grow what you got. And none of us should be, if you're on this call, you got good stuff. So none of us should be nervous about trying new stuff. So that's kind of, my big thing. Just,
tell me, Grady, about who are your top, we had a great conversation, your top 2 customers.
Yeah, so I talked a lot about growing, current customers, but growing my customer base, again, just kind of having that naivety and selling to everyone. There's a saying that's thrown around a lot by our management team: you drive by more business than you'll ever write. And I let that pump me up, and I'm a salesman. I can sell to anybody. And my top 2 customers are, one's a local pet store chain, and the other's a farmers cooperative. That's not a, traditional, it's not a Hallmark store. That's not General Gift. That's not, a boutique. There's business to be had everywhere, and not just customer wise, but you look at, yesterday I was in a small town of 800 people and 0 stoplights. And that's a top 15 account for me just because I am their whole store. I'm the only one who drives out there. You know what I mean? So, again,
raise
just
your hand
going back
if you want
to
to
that.
hire Grady. Raise your hand if you want to hire Grady.
So again, just going back to that naivety and just kind of clearing the predetermined notions. And again, just one more time harping on the, focusing on the number of products you have in your customer store as opposed to the number of dollars they're giving you right now, because the dollars aren't necessarily going to be there right now. But
I want to throw one question in.
down the line.
I want to throw one question in because then we're going to open it up to some questions and get there. But one thing that jumped out at me right now, between social media, e-commerce, storefronts, stores are trying to figure out how to get the business. And some parts of the country, if you're talking about farmers co-ops and towns of 800 people, when I talked with you and you talked about the importance of the materials that like the materials that Karen's putting out there, how important are those materials for these, for stores in these small rural towns? Are they absorbing that material? Are they using it?
Absolutely. A lot of folks are, some of them I had the urge to get on there. Some of them I didn't. A lot of people are just hungry to get out on the Facebook Lives and whatnot, and to use those tools. And, a way to build trust and grow during this time is just get on there and send a little comment like, good job, love that, I don't know, fire emoji, whatever. Just kind of support them while they're going through that because they're nervous about it. But yeah, a lot of folks are taking taking advantage of those tools, and it's working for them. And then,
are you
on my
using
end
any of those tools to open up new accounts?
Right. Yes. And I was about to say on my end of that, we at the Link Companies have, launched a strong emphasis on virtual appointments, whether it be virtual sitting right here at my kitchen table or virtual from the showroom. Just doing that and doing that the right way has helped us tremendously. And then again, when we fast forward, and you don't have to do that, you can have that in your bag of tricks, and that's going to, make you a more well-rounded rep. If you can't get out there and see someone, you can do it virtually. And you got to do it right though. Again, that same person I was talking to yesterday, was kind of trashing another rep saying, she FaceTimed me and I was sitting, just looking at her trunk with no catalog and everything, and it was just a disaster. So you got to do it right. You got to prepare more for those appointments, but if you do it the right way, it's an awesome tool.
Excellent. All right. Well, this is wonderful content. It's humbling to I get to work at Brandwise and I get to pick up the phone and call talented people and say, would you please go on television and share what you're doing? And so this is fun. So let's see about, do we got any questions, Callie, from the audience?
We do. We have a couple questions, and I just wanted to mention Susan was one of the first ones to raise her hand as soon as you were asking if anyone would be ready to hire Grady. So if you start looking to make it, there's quite a few people that are interested. Get started. Can you share the rep contest that the link companies used?
Yeah. So we always have some kind of
Uncle Fred and Brad to see if that's okay. But if we can, we'll get it out there.
General answer. Yeah. I mean, you want me to talk about it now, or are you talking about Sarah?
No. I think let's find out from the link whether or not that's something that they can share. But it's a point system for sure.
Saving my butt there. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to get Grady in trouble.
Sounds good. And then Linda, you've been one of our frequent question people that have been hopping on here. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you if looks like you're still here. You have a couple questions for Maureen, it looks like. So you should be able to unmute yourself. If not, I can go ahead and start answering.
Maureen, I had two questions for you. Number one, your sample kit. About how much does each sample kit cost you? Because we're trying to think about doing something like that too, and I'm wrestling with that. Do you have an idea how much your little sample kit costs that you give the reps to leave behind?
So wholesale cost on that is a little different than our cost. We probably, with shipping, with shipping, probably no more than $20 per kit. I mean, we obviously took our smallest piece with a couple of minis. We put them together in a cute little box with a bow, but sending them all to the reps in one fell swoop, like a couple of cases, was way more economical on our end, and they were able to then personalize their package to the end consumer or the end retailer that they wanted.
Consider $20 to pick up a new customer is pretty low. We'd all take that.
Right. Okay, then the follow-up question I had was to ask you if you used a mapping software program to identify where your accounts already are around the country and where your opportunities were, or was it just hard manual work?
It was hard manual work, and I'm sure there's some things that exist that might have made it easier for me, but I really understood it incredibly well because I was physically doing all of the work myself. You can use like GeoMaps if you want to just like upload an Excel sheet with your current customer base, but that didn't necessarily help us with our zip code protection. So we did it through several things. I know just looking at populations by city and identifying how much, where, if there's an economic growth there and medium income, like there were a lot of things that went into that, but we did that manually.
There's going to be a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks about the new, not to do a product plug here, but Brandwise's new vision tools would be able to help you with that, Maureen, today. So there is some there. Any other questions?
I know, I'm very excited.
Any other questions?
Yes, we have another question for Grady. What is your typical lead-in when you walk into a store unannounced and introduce what you do?
I mean, first things first, I just tell them, hey, I'm a sales rep, just get that out of the way. You know what I mean? And I kind of stick out like a sore thumb in some of these places, like a boutique, being a 27-year-old male. A lot of these ladies haven't seen a 27-year-old male in their store in a month. So just get that out of the way and let them know while you're there, go ahead and clear that up. But, after that, I'm not necessarily throwing a catalog in their face without getting to know them first and kind of talking to them. And, I spoke about this with Ari earlier this week, and now even more so than before, you got to take time to talk to them first and just let them know you care and you want to do business with them. You don't want to you just don't want to take their money. You want to do business with them. So especially now, some accounts, are struggling more than others. And just, I'm a sales rep. What are you selling? What works for you? Cool. Here's my card. I'll be in touch. It's really as simple as that.
So we've got 3 minutes left. Does anyone here on the panel want to, any kind of pieces you want to add to anything that came up while we were going through this? Any final thoughts? Not to put you on the spot, but anything anybody want to add?
I have a question for Maureen. So with all the analysis and hard work that you did you have any reps that didn't really engage with you? And if so, how did you encourage them to do that?
If we had reps that didn't engage with us, obviously we talked to them first. A lot of times we would just say, hey, we'd really like to get on to a meeting. In one case, we actually took a certain group of reps and invited them to an online webinar and kind of went through our line and thought maybe if you don't understand our line as well as you should, take the one-on-one time to actually explain it from the beginning and how other reps are doing well with it and what they're looking for. So we really did, and on an individual basis, we sent every individual rep not only just their spreadsheet, but a letter, and offered to kind of talk them through, what we're looking for and kind of what we expect. And we didn't have, once we did that, we probably had 4 or 5 reps that just didn't understand the line so much. Kind of just thrown at them because they were the gift rep for that agency, and they were like, okay, well, I don't do tabletop, and explaining to them that while we are tabletop, we are way more gifts than we are tabletop.
Well, Maureen, when you and I talked, there was another example though that you brought up, which maybe if you'll indulge me. The rep said, in this town there aren't any stores. So Maureen went and did the research, and she said, well, what about these 3? And they said, oh, well, I don't really go to that town. And then we got to the answer. So I think that because of the way Maureen did it, she was able to, specifically, kind of point that out and say, well, there's 3 stores there. Aren't none of them any good? And that, that kind of spurred them to kind of push it. That was or you said another flowery language.
All right, can I say
but we also found, sure.
No, you go ahead.
We also found that if, we had reps that had areas that were 700, and Texas is large. I mean, they couldn't get to their whole territory in a 6-month time frame because the distance was so large. So we said, hey, okay, for those reps, if you want me to send your package, or if you think that there's an option here, someone that you sell to that you want them to see the line, I'll send it. Let me know. And in probably 5 or 6 cases, we did that. We wrote a note. We said, with the rep's information, and we sent it on their behalf because the distance was huge.
Brenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you and I talked about this a little bit, but I think we all have a common thread here. I love Grady's attitude. You're going to make $1 jillion with that attitude, but everyone seems to be scrambling a little bit and trying new things, and some of them are working and some of them aren't. And Karen is one of our vendors. She is such a fantastic partner, but I just want everyone to remember that just going after a transaction, that's not going to win the game for you. And a rep, especially a good rep, is so much more than a transaction. So much more than just an order. And our customers are starving for this interaction and the advice and what's happening out in the outside world, and to work with a rep. And I really want everyone to remember that showing up and being there and loving what you do is just so important, and it will make sure that we all overcome what we have. But you can't just be after an order. You have to do what Maureen's done and what Karen's done and what Tony's done, and do different things and reach out and work together, and we'll all be fine.
Excellent. We have a couple of other questions, but I know on that to follow what Randa just said, which is so important. But I think that we'll wrap. There's some questions on here from there's one from Chris Singleton for Grady, which says, how do you plan your day?
Well, usually that's planned out, ideally a week or two in advance, and just, I don't know, you got to know where you're going to go a week or two in advance, just so you can scramble if you need to and plan out. But I don't know. I try to have ideally 2 to 3 appointments in a day, if that kind of answers the question.
Excellent. Okay, so we're a little bit over time. This was a great session, a great roundtable. Thank you all for being brilliant and contributing. And if anyone has any other questions, you can send them into Callie. We can send them directly to our panelists. Thank you all for your time. I'll tell you, we've maintained 90% of our audience through this on a Friday before Labor Day. That's outstanding. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Randa. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Grady. Thank you, Callie, for being the VOG. And we will see you all next week. Crystal is going to be doing a great webinar from Crystal Media about marketing to your customers for B2B sales. She's an expert. She's been working on social media since 2007. Didn't know it happened back then, but she's an expert. She's got a staff of 9, and she's really built an amazing business. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And everyone else, enjoy your Labor Day. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, sorry.
Thanks. See ya.